listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome. You are watching Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents A Better You. Lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. I'm your host, executive producer, director, and broadcast engineer. If you're looking for an interview, you're on the wrong show. This is all about presentations from my team of experts whom I've handpicked because they are at the top of their field. They come 5 times a week and present lessons to help make us better personally and or professionally. Let's meet today's expert presenters. Joining us today is Megan Sandwick. Hello, Megan. No stranger to this show. Hello. And also, for the first time anywhere on A Better You is Mike Harder. Welcome, Mike.
Hi. Good to be with you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. So I just want to share with everyone what to expect for today. Megan has graciously decided that she will go first because Mike is here for the first time. So Megan is going to do the first presentation, which will be somewhere around 15 minutes. And then Mike and I will share some feedback about Megan's presentation. We'll go to commercial break, and then Mike will present, and then we'll discuss his presentation. But before we start with the presentations, I love to have my team share a little bit about themselves. So Megan, tell us what you're doing as a strategic productivity partner with Down with SPP.
Hello, everybody. My name is Megan Sandwick, and I am your strategic productivity partner. My website is Down with SPP if you have questions or want to get a hold of me. And my goal is to help entrepreneurs and small business owners with your productivity habits, because if you're working smarter and not harder, then you're able to enjoy life much more. So that's why I'm your strategic productivity partner. And today we're going to talk about something super important to all of us, organizing our digital world.
Woohoo! Everybody needs that. Fantastic. Another great lesson from you, Megan. Mike, why don't you tell us all about Concentric and what you're doing there as the president?
Sure. So my focus in Concentric is to do leadership development for Indigenous leaders around the globe, specifically missionaries and pastors, ministry leaders. We're in about 130 countries, so I travel quite a bit internationally, or I'm on Zoom and other online platforms doing training, equipping, coaching for leaders. So I do it locally too with pastors and sometimes with business executive leaders doing executive coaching. So love what I do, and you can reach me at my web address or email.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate that. All right, Miss Megan, are you ready to go?
I am. Let me get my timer and everything ready.
Do you have a deck today?
I do. So let me share that with you all now. Okay.
Perfect. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, why don't you do me a favor, please, and just hit that little red button, subscribe. So easy. Click subscribe.
Smash your subscribe button.
That's right, exactly. Okay, Megan, I will take us backstage. I don't see your deck yet, but I will put it up as soon as I see it. And Mike, you and I will...
Do you see it there now?
No, not yet. And by the way, audience, we love to have you engage with our presentation. So if you are on Facebook or LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, what else? YouTube, we'd love to hear from you. So just feel free to place comments and we'll read them on the breaks. All right, there we go. Mike, you and I are going to get out of town and we will be back shortly. Megan, have a great presentation.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about something that's important, near and dear to my heart and everybody's heart, right? So we're going to talk about organizing your digital world. When you think about it, over the last 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, a majority of our lives have moved online into the digital world. And so how we organize our information can be super critical, because Have you ever felt that, had that experience where you need something, you're like, oh, remember that document I was creating? And then you're like, but where did I put it? Oh, that can be so frustrating. So that's not going to happen to you, because today we're going to talk about organizing your digital world. We're specifically going to talk about why, what, and how to organize your digital world. So why? When you think about it, why should we spend time? And part of what I'm asking you to do is to be intentional and set aside some time and saying, okay, how do I want to organize my digital world? Why? Because it saves time and it saves sanity. Let's be honest, finding and looking for things is one of the most frustrating challenges in the world, especially if it's something that you need in that moment. I don't know about the rest of you, but that can turn me from 0 to frustrated in pretty quick time. So we want to avoid that. Also, if we look at it, why, there's actually some numbers out there that I think that are going to surprise you. So when you think about it, one number that I'm very fascinated with, and when I was in an office, I know that we spent at least this much. An average office employee spends an hour and a half a day or 6 weeks per year looking for things. So when you think about it, we all feel that way, right? So an average office employee can spend 6 weeks a year looking for things. A typical manager wastes 150 hours a year, or almost an entire month, searching for lost information. Mind-blowing when you think that for someone who's earning $50,000 a year, that's going to be about $4,000 annually. So there's actually a cost to not organizing our digital information. It's sanity and it saves money. Also, one thing that's important to remember is that using correct organizational tools can improve time management by 38%. So it's important when we look at why it's important to organize our digital world, we want to look at why. And the why, it saves time, saves sanity. It also helps us to have peace-filled productivity. So not only are we saving time, but we're gaining time by the tools that we use. So it's important that we identify and take time intentionally to say, what is our digital world? How are we organizing it? And how am I going to make sure that I can find information when I need it, not when I'm just flipping through things and happen to see it? It's important. I have a little mantra that I'm going to share with you. And here's what my mantra has become over the last couple of years with my digital organization. So just a hint, when I worked in corporate America, when I worked in brick and mortar buildings, I worked in huge paper buildings. I worked in industries where we couldn't go through paper enough. We had so many files and so much stuff. So for me to now realize that 100% of my world is electronic and digitally, I can actually work anywhere I want simply with my iPad or my iPhone or my laptop. And so taking the time to organize our digital information is going to help us to take control of our lives. Here's my mantra. May my organized digital world be at ease now, so I avoid that can't find something when needed later frustration. So my goal is to make myself and to recommend that you all make our organized digital worlds at ease with some time. So what is it that we want to organize? So I think we were through the why. It's important to do. We're going to save time. We're going to save sanity. We're going to increase time. So when I say organize my digital world, what do I mean by that? Let's look. There are so many options. So we could be talking about email, of course, our drives, Google Drives, documents, Dropbox, Box, any of those. Apps like Canva. When you think about some of your apps, think of all of the files and folders. I specifically am thinking of Canva because I have a lot of graphics there. And so my question is, how am I organized so I can find them? Our social media, our project management tools, and our photos. There are elements to all of these areas that we can be intentional about so that it will help us to take control of our digital organized world. And so it's important for you to look at, where is it? What is all my digital information? And so for me, I know I have emails, I know my drive, all of those things are something that need to be organized. When we're organizing, before we get into the specifics of how, I want to have us think of a reminder. When organizing your digital world, it is mandatory that you find what works for you. So as we're getting ready to talk about this next section of how to actually organize our digital world, I'm going to show you tips and techniques that I use, tips and techniques that my clients have used in my past projects. I don't want you to say, oh, this is how Megan did it, so this is how I need to do it. because if you're going to do it like my way, that's not your way. And we need to find your way. So let's talk specifically about how we can organize our digital world. And so I don't know about you, but one of the very favorite, when I'm working on operations projects and we start talking about, okay, what are we going to, how are we going to organize? The very first thing that comes to mind is naming conventions. And I don't know if any of you, as you're listening to me, are like, oh, Megan, don't even go there, naming conventions. So we know that how we name things, whether it be, again, on a document, in an email, whether it be the subject, whether it be in an app, how we name things in our project management tools like Monday or Todoist or Asana or Trello. When you think about it, all of these areas have information that we need to access and that we need to name it to be able to find it. So naming conventions are important. They're also important in photos. They're also important in things like Canva. So think about what you would like your naming convention to be. I'm also going to show you two different naming convention methodologies. One is very structured and one is more searchable. And this is where, when I talk about structured naming conventions, sometimes people roll their eyes and say, I don't have enough time in the world, and that's just not how I'm going to roll with naming my documents. And I understand that, and I agree. What I want to do when we're talking about naming conventions is, this again is where you need to be intentional and ask yourself, how am I going to begin with an end in mind? How am I going to need to find this information? And is anyone else dependent on this? Because quite honestly, I will tell you, so there are two naming conventions I'm going to talk about. One, which is very structured, which is where you start your files with a letter or a number, because then you can organize it by what's important with the ones or the twos or the threes or the A's or the B's. Then the name of the file or your picture. So it would be like A, and then the name of the file, if it's got a client, and if there's a status example. So here's one structured way to have a naming convention. So it would be like one proposal, ABC company active. And that's one way you can absolutely name things. Another is where you're naming things to be searchable, because we know things like Google Drive, Canva, project management tools, they all have search functionality where we can go in and say, okay, look for a document or a project with this name. So at that point, if you're going to be using your naming convention searchable, it's about keywords. It's about words that you will remember with meetings or programs or projects. Again, recently, I was looking for something that I started a couple of years ago, an Introvert's Guide to Freelancing, and I couldn't remember where everything was. Fortunately, I just put introvert in and voila, it all showed up. So having keywords or names and then the date and year. And so an example here would be naming something ABY presentation, digital world, and the date. So those are two things. I know it's really specific, but think about how it is that you want to name things. The other factor to consider is who else needs to access it. So like when I worked for the Upwork Professionals team and worked on a project where we were working on a file convention naming, we had to be very specific because we had people from all over the world, right? And so everyone was accessing documents. When I work on operations projects with teams, if there's going to be multiple people accessing proposals or documents or anything like that, a structured system is important because multiple people need to find it. And I implement structured systems in those places. But for those of you who have watched before, when it comes to how I do things for myself, completely different. I look for things more in a searchable way. So it's important to ask yourself, what is it that you're going to be naming? How is it going to be with other people, and to be aware of that? So we want to look at our naming structure. We also want to look at the file structure of that we use and how we organize things. I'm showing you an example here that's specific to Google, and it's specific to Google Drive, but you can take and learn from it, whether, again, you're using this in Asana, a Trello, Monday, or even any apps or anything like that, where with your general structure, it's important to ask yourself, what do I want my file structure to be? What are the important data and details that I'm going to need to get? And so what I always say is begin with the user experience in mind. Begin with the user experience in mind. So as you're thinking about how you're going to be working on your project or how you're going to be getting your information, you want to think about what's important to you. For me, this is my structure right here. So I have this is what I have. My personal vital information is my dashboard. You'll notice that I use numbers. For me, I like to organize my files. When it comes to file structure, I'm pretty organized and I follow the structure. I also do things like if there's something that I need to pull out to work on temporarily, because I have a number, I can pull it in because I've got a 1.5. So it just gives me a little bit of flexibility, again, to realize how do I need to access things now. We can be flexible and malleable and change as we need to. It's great to start with a number or a letter when you're talking about your structure, because then you can organize it, you can sort it by that way, and you can see what your priorities are. And you can also organize by project or function. You'll notice here I have my SPP things together. I have my client things together. Again, that's just my marketing things together, my Better You presentations together. That way it just gives me an idea. So when you're looking at your digital world, you want to look at the structure of it and how you want to find things, and that's how you organize it. So we've talked a little bit about the naming schemes that you're going to use. You want to find ways that you and your team or yourself will be able to access information and search for information and be able to find it. You want to think about what that structure is. Begin with the user experience in mind. What I mean is, normally I say end in mind. Now I'm saying user experience. I'm saying begin with the user experience in mind because you're able to set this process up to help you to be able to complete and even to automate your workflow. So how do I mean that? So another way that we can organize our digital world is we can start to look at our workflow process here. And one of the things, so what I've done is this is my onboarding process and this is my client template folder. So what I've done is I've grouped the documents together based on the process within onboarding somebody. So I have what I need to do first, and then I have, here's my documents for confidentiality agreement. That's the second stage. The third stage is setting up the file. So again, you're able to identify what needs to happen. And this allows us to organize our documents. It also helps us to organize a consistent and streamlined flow. Like I love having my messages and canned messages in one place because then I don't have to think about them again. And it creates the assets for an automated workflow. So when I was ready to automate my onboarding process, I had everything I needed right here. And so it's taking time to be intentional and organize our workflow process is going to help you work smarter, not harder. One thing I'm going to say, I'm going to go extra. This is a plus one. And some people might roll your eyes saying, Megan, you're going extra now. Totally agree. And it can be this way. I also think when you're organizing your digital world, when you're working, it's good to organize your tab windows. It's a really good idea to organize and separate out how you log in. And this is specifically for people who work on multiple projects or maybe have multiple clients. There's a few things you can do. You can either create different logins for your Google account, or you can create different profiles. And what this does is this allows you to log into that profile and do the work on that profile. So for example, I'm able to, when I go to my Jinsudo Media, I'm able to log in, access those passwords, access those bookmarks. It's additional organization. Again, sometimes people might think it's extra. I've found it helpful, so I want to share it with you. And I know several clients have too. And it limits visibility when necessary as well. So let's talk about how you're going to organize your world. You've heard me talk about it. Again, I want to go back to, it's important that you ask yourself how it is that you want to find information and how it is when you'll need to be able to access it and plan for that. So I've set aside a process. What you want to do to organize your world, set aside a big block of time. This isn't going to take 15 minutes. It's not even going to take an hour. It might take longer. Then you want to get your head in the game. Whenever you're working on a project like this, I always put a good playlist together of music so that my mind is in the right place. I have some snacks. I always have some tea. You want to begin with the user experience in mind, and then you need to capture everything that it is that you organize in every place that you organize. Determine what it is you want to organize first and what approach you want to take. Then you want to start using the process moving forward and saying, okay, so everything moving forward, I'm going to structure and organize in this way. You want to set that expectation. Then you want to set an expectation of when are you going to go back to your previous stuff, because it's going to be important for you to decide, do you go back and update that or not? And again, you can't make a wrong decision because it's your world. When we think about our digital world, it's pretty amazing what we can access from our phones, from our laptops, from our tablets, and we have everything we need to. I am amazed sometimes that I can literally run my business from my phone. Now, first world problems, I think that the laptop or the tablet are just easier to see, but it's the ability that we have. So let's use that ability and let's ask ourselves, ask not how your digital world can keep you organized, but ask how you can organize your digital world, because it will truly open up the options and abilities that you have so that you save time to work smarter. I am Megan. I am your strategic productivity partner. And I really hope that you've thought a little bit today about how you can structure and take control of your digital world so that you're able to spend time doing what you want, where your gifts are, and not spend time with that pressured look of, I know that document is somewhere. Let's avoid that by organizing your digital world. Thank you so much for this time. And I challenge you to ask not how your digital world can keep you organized, but ask how you can organize your digital world. Thank you so much.
Excellent. A topic near and dear to me, as you know. I'm constantly looking for things. I don't know about you, Mike. How organized are you?
My team always tells me that I'm really organized, but a lot of the time I don't feel organized, and especially when it comes to social media. And I live in all different worlds and different communication forums, using WhatsApp and Zoom and all different mediums to communicate. And I've got messages coming in from literally 10 different devices and mediums of communication. So near and dear to my heart. They can eat my lunch some of the time.
It's something that we all need to know. And you did give us a process that we can use that makes a lot of sense. So Megan, I just want to ask you, what was it that inspired you to go down this path of being a strategic productivity partner?
I will say, I wish I could tell you that I set a goal and that I found it. But what I started when I moved into the remote world and was working with operations and was looking at and working on different operations projects, there started to be a niche where I started to find that the entrepreneurs I was working with didn't just need operations, but before that, they needed some organization and productivity. And so that's when I started to realize, like, hey, there's people that need help with productivity, and I could do that. And so that's how it happened.
Yeah, and I want everyone to know I've been working with Megan. How long? Like 6 months?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm so much more organized than I have ever been. And it's amazing as you take on new tasks and you learn new things, how you have more things that you still have to learn. So I think, Megan, everybody needs to contact you and reach out to you because you do a fantastic job. And you're not only very organized, but you're very patient. You're very understanding. And you can help somebody even with email. If somebody's not setting a time frame to respond to emails, you can help them with that.
Yeah, I actually have a client that's what we do. His goal every day is to get to email 0. And so we meet 45 minutes a day, and that's the time that he does his email. And so, to me, we do planning and strategy, and we have a daily process, and then he does his email because he knows that's the only way he'll see it. And I'm like, I don't mind. I'm here to support you. If that's how I can support you, let's do that.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much. We are going to take a break, and then when we come back, Mike will be doing his presentation, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different on the break. We have a record label, Licorice Dragon Records, and one of their artists, her name is Ilo, and she's in the UK, and she was on our show, Celebrate Great Britain Royally Rich, and I feel like when we're talking about the topic of being better personally or professionally, I'd like to play her clip because it's really moving. So let's watch this for our break, and we'll be right back.
Picture this, a life where you can leave your pain, a life where you can start again somehow. Picture this, a vision that can change a prayer. Happy heart that's always there in the now. So don't be afraid of fear. You know, as long as we're still here, we can be anything larger than life. Rise up from the ground. We can fall down over 10,000 times. skies. Picture this, losing everything you got, never having had a lot, but holding on and on and on. Don't be afraid to dream, 'cause we are so much closer than it seems. We can be anything larger than life, rise up from the ground. We can fall down over 10,000 times, then turn it all right back around. We never imagine how good life can be, but inside you and me, we can see past these ghosts in the mirror. We can be anything larger than life, rise up from the ground. We can fall down over 10,000 times, then turn it all right back around. We never imagine how good life can be, but inside you and me, we can see past these ghosts in the mirror. Heroes in disguise. Heroes in disguise. Heroes in disguise. Heroes in disguise. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the most notorious show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned into.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back. We're so happy to have you here on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents A Better You with two of my expert team members, Megan Sandwick and Mike Harder. Thank you to Licorice Dragon Records and ILO for that beautiful performance. Mike, how do you feel? You ready to go? Yeah, isn't it moving?
That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. I watch it and I get like all choked up. Such a beautiful message. So Mike, are you ready to present?
I am.
Okay, perfect. Megan and I are going to go backstage and we wish you well. Have a fabulous lesson.
Good. Well, it's good to be with you here today. As was mentioned before, I head up an organization where we do equipping for pastors, missionaries, ministry leaders around the globe in about 130 countries. A lot of my time over the last 35 years has been spent in thinking about the future and strategizing and helping leaders and organizations set their goals and set their key result areas and think about action steps and really look at their vision for the future. And that's good. That's the way I'm wired. But recently I've been thinking about the now, thinking about the word now and living in the now. What would happen if we spent more time living in the now is the question that I've been asking myself. In other words, if we focused on being fully present where we are right now, enjoying the life that God has given us and the people he has in our lives right now, what would happen? I'm not saying don't think about the future, don't think about the past, but we have a tendency to spend more time in the future and more in the past than we do in the present. You see, we spend a lot of our time thinking about and anticipating, maybe worrying about what's in the future, or for some people are paralyzed by the past. And so they spend a lot of their time thinking about past failures and pains and disappointments and broken relationships and the things the what ifs. I wish I would have did this. I'm not minimizing the importance of the past or the future. I'm simply asking the question and noting that we have a tendency to miss the moment that we're living in right now. And in doing so, we may miss the grandest opportunities we have, the most wonderful people around us, the greatest experiences. And remember, think about it this way. You and I cannot live or dwell in the past. It's impossible. The past is the past. It's gone. And we can't live right now in the future because the future is not here. The only place that we can live, the only time that we can really experience life in is the now. Blaise Pascal is a famous articulate mathematician and philosopher and theologian from the 17th century France. And he had a lot of great insights into life and reality and I would say into the human heart. He said that humans are the most paradoxical of all of the creatures on earth, all the creatures that God created. On the one hand, we are one of the grandest of all living beings, yet we also experience the greatest amount of misery and disappointment of all God's creatures. And the reason's because we can think and reflect upon our existence, which is the reason that we're so grand also, right? But it's also the basis for our misery and our disappointments. Think about it. We have a tendency to scope out the future before it ever arrives. That's what I do professionally in my ministry. We're always wondering, what if? Of course, envisioning the future is a natural part of being human. It's how we're designed. And it's prudent for us to plan the future. I wouldn't spend most of my time doing that with leaders and organizations if it wasn't important. But we can spend too much of our time imagining a brighter future rather than seeking to be content and present in the now, enjoying the blessings we have in our world, in our realities right now. As we play out the future in our imaginations, we often inadvertently throw our lives into a funk. In the present reality, we start to lose contentment. We lose happiness. Sometimes it changes the way we interact with the people that we love, the people that we care about, and the people that love us and care about us in our lives. You see, we have this amazing tendency to arrange our lives around the future, around future expectations of happiness. And it may reveal something we're not happy about right now. But we miss the opportunities we have to be happy with the blessings that we have now by always arranging our lives around the future. I've had the opportunity, the blessing to be able to travel to many countries, not over the last 15 months, but in the 12 months prior to the COVID pandemic and such. I was in India, I was in Israel twice, I was in South Africa, the Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, Ireland, Austria, and a number of other countries. And in my travels, one of the things that I noticed is that people's contentment, people's happiness overall, when you look from country to country and from culture to culture, I saw people that have a lot and people that have a little that are happy. And I saw people that have a lot and have a little that are miserable. It wasn't the things they had. It wasn't even necessarily the quality of life that always determined whether people were happy. It was more a matter of the heart and whether they were enjoying what they had right now, right in that moment that they were living in. Blaise Pascal put it this way. He said, "We never keep to the present. We anticipate the future as if we found it, that we found it coming too slow. It's not coming fast enough. And so the present is never our end. We're always living into the future, always thinking about what we don't have or what we wish we had or what we want to have in the future." And then Pascal, I'm really into Pascal today, but Pascal also put his finger on it, saying that how most people live their lives saying, therefore, we never actually live, but hope to live, he said. Therefore, we never actually live, but we hope to live. And since we're always planning how to be happy, it's inevitable that we should never be so. Because if you're not happy in the now, when are you going to be happy? Most of the time, when we get to the future, we've missed all the opportunity to be content in the past. And quite often, what I see as a pastor for many years and as a leadership coach, I find that time and time again that when people get to the future reality of what they thought was going to bring happiness, what was going to bring contentment, it's not there. Then they're looking on to something else in the future. You see, Blaise also recognized that one of the reasons that people are so unhappy is that no matter where we are in life, no matter how well things are going right now, we always seem to have this propensity to be able to contemplate a better life in the future, a much better place to live in than what we're experiencing right now. Isn't it easy to imagine a much better life than you currently have right now? Do you ever do that? Do you ever contemplate? Do you ever think about the future? Or do you ever think about the past and the regrets? Think about your life right now. Isn't there some way that you could have a better life? That's great. I think about these things all the time. Isn't there something that would make you happier? So many people live their lives with hidden thoughts like, couldn't my marriage be better? And, if only I had a better marriage, or if only I lost 25 pounds, or if only I had a more fulfilling occupation or made more money. Or I can't wait to retirement, or I can't wait until vacation, or I can't wait till this week is over, until this up over and over again. We're thinking about these things a lot of the time. And I'm not saying that we should not have goals and be strategic. Like I said earlier, that's my world. That's where I live. What I am saying is that we should be careful to enjoy the present reality and our present blessings now. Plan for the future. Deal with things in the past that maybe you need to deal with, but also live in the now. Enjoy and be content in the now. Just another thought on this. So many people wonder what would their lives be like if only they had made other decisions or other choices or had other relationships or not said no to that job or that school. And they end up playing this mental exercise, the what ifs and regrets and disappointments and missed opportunities have a tendency to paralyze some people in the present and rob them of happiness. I would say that maybe we live too much in the future, some of us, and too much in the past. And we need to live in the now. And this is why the great sage Jesus told us to live one day at a time, because each day has enough troubles of his own, he said in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6. And it's why Paul instructed us to be content in the now. Be content in what God has given us right now. The more stuff we have having more stuff is not the secret to happiness. It's being happy in the now, being content, being happy with what we have right now, enjoying the life that we have right now, the blessings that God has given us now. That's what I see gives happiness as I've traveled the world and met with different people that have a lot less than what we have in North America and Europe, in the Western world. And I've been amazed at their ability to have happiness. And it's convicted me and made me think more about being content in the now, enjoying the moment right now. And, this also ties in with gratitude. Taking time to be thankful and gratuitous or being grateful for the things that you have in your life. Taking time to reflect on the present realities, not just think about the negatives or just think about what's in the future, but actually think about and take time to thank God for the things that are blessings right now. So gratitude is a big part of this as well. So thank you for listening in. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts. and would love to get any feedback from you. You can email me or hit me on my website.
Great job, Mike. Thank you so much. How do you feel after your first presentation? Even though you're a professional speaker, how do you feel?
Yeah, no, this was different because this was just something I was reflecting on this morning. So it's not something I've spoken on before. It's not something that I've thought about it from time to time, but it was just something that came up spontaneously, around 8 o'clock this morning. And it just, it's like, wow, I need, this is a good thing to talk about. So I shifted what I thought I'd be discussing and talking about today. So,
well, that was a terrific topic. And I think what resonated with me, and I've gone through this myself, is that we spend so much time, what about the past? How am I going to get over this? What am I going to do about that? And then the future. Well, what if this doesn't happen? Or how am I going to play for this? Or where am I going to get this to do that? And we're not enjoying what we're doing. And so it's an actual technique, I think. Like, you really have to work at it.
Yeah, it's a discipline. It's definitely a discipline. And I'm somebody that lives in the future, but it's a matter of be content where you are now. Plan for the future, but be content where you are now. Enjoy the now.
Yes, well said. Nice job. Megan, any comments from you?
And I think that was such a powerful and so important to remember. It's that balance of, yes, the future is important, but the now is where we have to live. So thank you for that reminder. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think something else that ties into that, and I've been working on this, but still fall victim. I'm not victim, it's my fault, is not having the phone out when you're with people, right? And even when you're on a call or a Zoom or something, to be fully present. And I think, at least in this country, and maybe I'm speaking for myself, but it's like we have so many things that we have to do. And it's like, no, I can't give all my attention here because I have this and this and this. So if we use Megan's approach on productivity and being organized with our calendars and our digital world, and then we have your perspective and philosophy and frame of mind, I think we'll all be a lot happier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you both again. I really appreciate it. I'm getting notified that I have to go to the next show. So I'm just going to ask you again to give your contact information. Mike, what's the best way to reach you, and why should people reach out? What services are you offering?
You can reach me at my email address at the bottom of the screen there. It's mikeharder@gmail.com. That's the easiest way. It's easy to remember. You can also look at our ministry website, which is actually concentricglobal.org. I think maybe I typed that wrong, or somebody else typed it wrong. Why to reach out to me? If you're looking for coaching, mentoring in leadership, coaching in creating balance in your life, being able to plan for the future, but also live in the now, then feel free to contact me. We'd love to talk.
All right. And thanks for bringing that up, Mike. It's concentricglobal.org.
There you go.
Very nice.
That's right.
Okay. And Megan, how about the best way to reach you and the services that you provide?
Best way to reach me is to contact me at megan@downwithspp.com, or look at my website, downwithspp.com. And I am here to help you organize and take control of your productivity habits any way that we can.
Fantastic. Thank you, both of you. I really appreciate you. And Mike, we have a club that we both belong to. He's an incredible man, changing lives. And as he mentioned, traveling the world and bringing the word of God, the gospel. I've interviewed him before and actually was in tears. I think the last time we interviewed, it was so moving. And Megan, I've been working with, as I mentioned, for 6 months. So these are high quality people of integrity that can definitely help you. So please do reach out to them. And that being said, that's a wrap for today. We'll see you very soon in the next 15 minutes on In the Name of Love. Thank you again for being here, and stay well. Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone.